You are now listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc, sharing insights through real, honest, and practical ways to improve your communication and relationships. Featuring your hosts, Dr. Pamela Kreiser, Meredith Edwards-Nagel, and Taylor Polindo.
Today, we're introducing a new kind of episode called AFAF Rewinds. And in case you missed it, it's a chance for you to catch up on the content that we have in some of our older episodes. It might be a refresher for you, or you might have missed it entirely. But either way, it's time to rewind. So what do we have today, Meredith?
Today, we're jumping backwards to episode 60 in honor of February being a time to recognize heart attacks. And episode 60 is Women and Heart Attacks. So, true story about this one. I actually know a female listener who listened to this episode in real life, used the communication strategies from episode 60 during an ER visit, where she was told to calm down, and she was able to successfully advocate for herself because she learned strategies from this exact episode. Also, did you know that heart attacks are the top cause of death in women globally? That was wild to learn during this one. Yet they're often seen as a man's disease. In episode 60, we break down this misconception with special professional guests Stacey Ross and Kim Newlin. Stacey actually shares her personal heart attack story, and Kim discusses risk factors, symptoms, and strategies. So share with women you care about. And here's the clip.
Share everything that doesn't feel right, even if you don't think it's anything, because the sum of all those parts will often mean more. Don't discount, don't come in saying, I'm sure it's nothing, or I have a lot of anxiety anyway. So it kind of feels like that. You don't want to color the water before they've had a chance to look at it, and kind of come up with their own decision or differential diagnoses. Tell the right person, right? You can talk about it to other people, but you may actually need to get in there and make an appointment, and it may be a nurse practitioner or a clinician. And often I see patients and they have about 5 different providers, right? Because they're seeing a kidney doctor or different things. Mm-hmm. And so one of my first questions I ask is who listens to you the best? Like who do you trust the most? Who would you go to? And often it's not their primary care provider, which is interesting. That make sure you're sharing what's going on with that person. So you kind of got to find your person, and it should be someone, in the healthcare field if your body is not feeling right. And again, it may be a friend who's in healthcare, but it is good because sometimes you also kind of maybe leave certain things out with friends. And so you really got to go in and share everything, even the embarrassing things, right?
Like the weed smoking, Stacey.
Just gummies. That was prescribed anyway, so.
That's for another episode.
That's right.
That's a different episode, yeah. So we talked about what we shouldn't say. What should we say? So let's say I'm having some symptoms. I've heard this podcast. I'm walking into the ER because I've decided to actually go. Maybe I've stopped talking myself out of it, and I'm there. What do I say? 'Cause the men say, I'm having chest pain. I need to be seen right away. What should we be demanding? Should we be direct, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, I think you could even go so far as to say, I'm having, and you list your symptoms. So I'm having chest pain that's radiating down my left arm to my jaw, nausea. I've had nausea, I've been vomiting, and I've had cold sweats. I've never felt this set of symptoms before. And I am very concerned that I'm having a heart attack. I mean, I think you can say that much because then you're priming them to what you want them to look for. I mean, the only downside is if it's not, right? I mean, like really it's
okay.
It's okay. That's why we have emergency rooms and providers is to help you catch these things. The other thing is if it's been happening for a while is make sure, because they'll start asking, how long has this been happening? Well, I had the chest pain last week when I was exercising. It happened 15 minutes in. Like Stacey was doing a really good job with this. Plus I was having fatigue doing things I normally do. Normal. And it's hard when people are active. Like this happens with men too, I will say as well. He said he could only play 1 set of tennis and normally he plays 5. Oh, he's fine. But I've seen people like that. Yeah. Or he could only do 30 minutes on his bike, but he's an ultra, like he rides 100-mile rides, right? Yeah. So you have to kind of say, what can you normally do? Like, so say, normally I can play 3 sets of tennis and I'm not tired, but I have been feeling that way. Even if you know your risk factors, I have an early family history of heart disease. I know my cholesterol is high. So listing those things off, you're almost giving them the picture painted, and now they just have to fill in number 5 on the paint by number, right? So that's all they got to do. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm grateful to learn from you ladies. Like, really, I'm sorry for how we're learning from you, Stacey, in this way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It makes me want to care for myself and the women in my life a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So, and thanks, Kim, for your expertise on that.
Absolutely. And I think women are at such a pivotal part too, because most often the women are making the decisions on the food to buy and to make and choosing to be active with your family members and all that piece, which then instills that healthy lifestyle from the beginning. My parents were both PE majors, so I was kind of destined to. And my dad's life work is studying exercise and preventing heart disease. So I kind of was born into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. And I'm grateful for you. So thank you.
Oh, I'm glad you texted me.
Many levels.
Me
Goose. Too.
We're not going to give Kim's number in the show notes, but everyone needs to find a Kim.
Everyone needs a Kim.
Yes.
For sure. That's true.
You got to have a Kim somewhere for when you need a Kim.
Yes, for sure.
Just go stand outside your local hospital and track down.
Exactly.
You're like, Kim?
The coolest looking nurse.
Yeah. That's right.
I love it.
Love that.
So first of all, we just are grateful for both of you telling your story, Stacey and Kim, giving us your expertise. And we're thankful because it helps us understand the risk factors. It helps us understand that it's not a man's disease. This is something that women need to take very seriously. It's the leading cause of death for women in the United States and globally, which is a startling number to talk about. And a couple things to just review. We've kind of identified how we got to where we are today. But the big question is, do you understand your risk factors? Do you understand what the symptoms are? Do you have the education? And then the second is, can you figure out ways to communicate that don't minimize your importance? Because as a person, you are important. You are important to those people that love you in your lives. And as we kind of think about that, sometimes I know women will take steps because they'll say, I'll do it for my children. And whatever your reason is to do these things, something we've learned from you is let's advocate for ourselves a little better. Let's be not demanding because we're not trying to be outside of our voice, but let's stand up for ourselves when we have these symptoms by writing them down, speaking clearly about them, and not minimizing them as if we're trying to make the decision for that caregiver. Give the information, give it directly, be upfront, and take action and not try to wait it out at home. Get right in there. With that said, thank you both for being here, and
thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Once again, this is episode 60, Women and Heart Attacks. So rewind and go check it out.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. Please remember to rate, share, and subscribe to our podcast. And thank you for listening to Asking for a Friend.
Let us know what you thought of the episode. Our email is hello@afafpodcast.com. This show is for educational purposes only and is copyrighted. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. Thanks for listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc.